Yo, what's going on, guys? So I think this is the first Wesker gameplay on the channel. I do really like him quite a bit too. He's very fun. I don't know, like there's something that kind of bums me out about playing him is just that like depending on the map, his power can be quite useless on most of the loops. I don't like how reliant on the map layout his power is. Like I feel like it should be able to use it on every loop, like similar to a Blight, for example. You know, he has like 5 tokens for dashes. If Wesker had 3, you know, maybe something like that, I just feel like he would be much more, you know, fun to play in the sense that you can use his power pretty much everywhere. You know, and there wouldn't be so many shortcomings on certain loops. Also, they kind of changed his hitbox a lot, right? So he wouldn't hit on stuff. I think he should by default slide on any object, right? Like I mean literally slide. He shouldn't have collision with walls, I think. To his power, the only collision he should have, in my opinion, should be with the survivors. Everything else he should just slide. He should just slide off, and the slide would even allow for, you know, much more skillful plays as well, which is fun for everyone. So I don't know. I wish the devs would change that, but you know, like for example, right there, why hit that? You know, he should just slide off to the left or to the right. You know, there's no reason to like stop his movement. I think if it's a miss, then so fine, so be it. Like just miss and slide off. You know, because it kind of ruins. It's very hard to aim sometimes because it has to be ultra precise with his power. Otherwise, you just kind of bump into something that you didn't meant to, and you know, ruin the entire dash. Especially if you're doing a two dash hit. If you mess up any part of the first one or the second one, it just ruins everything, and his power takes forever to recharge. There's actually a sort of a stealth bonus. You see, like there, for example, why was that not involved? You know, there's some kind of inconsistencies like that. There's just kind of why, you know, that should obviously have worked, but it doesn't because of a slide thing with the hitbox. But yeah, like I was saying, there's a stealth recovery to his power, which is the more people are infected, the faster his power recovery happens. But it's just not that very realistic, which is another thing I think they should change about him. They're not going to change this right now because he's performing way too well on the kills as they showed on the data. So they don't mess with killers that have a high kill rate. That's pretty obvious. But I think they should change the amount of canisters, you know, of the first sprays that they have on the map is way too many. Like they should be more in line to how many Nemesis have. Nemesis has like, I don't know, maybe 6, 7, 8, possibly tops boxes where the survivors can only use once the vaccine. I think Wesker should kind of be the same. Like for every canister they have like 2 sprays in it. It's way too much, and you have like what, maybe 10. I think it's 12 uses total, considering all the sprays and the fact that each spray has you can use it twice, right? So it's like 12. It's way too much. You're not gonna hit 12 people around the game, you know. The people, they're gonna rush the gens way before you get 12 sprays used. So I just think that if you want to keep that amount, the big amount of sprays, the infections should be similar to the Plague, where the survivors can pass the infections to each other. I feel like they should probably implement a mechanic like that if they intend to keep the 12 uses of the infection, because I think 12 is way too much. They should get more punished for the infection, I think. And I don't think that would make him like super overpowered. Yeah, you see, I was trying to use the power there on the Rebecca 2 earlier. Now I noticed, I'm not sure I was aware of that during the recording of this game that you're watching, but his power, like if you do it without looking, for the most part, you can hit him on hits that normally you wouldn't be able to if you were to just stop and look at them after the first dash, I mean. Which is something that kind of clicked to me, and it made a lot of difference. The only problem with that, since you're dashing without looking, you know, the execution is much harder. Like the timing has to be precise. Like you have to turn and do the second dash right away, like in the proper timing after, because you can't move during the first dash, right? Which is another thing I don't know. I'm sure why the devs put there. So that forces you to have good timing on that first dash to follow up with the second. But you see, his power for the most part can be used a lot. and if you have the execution to pull it off, like for example right here, you know, I kind of hesitated a little bit there, but I could possibly have used the second dash there. You see, this type of stuff is also kind of annoying to play with him. You have to be like super, it's almost like shooting a bullet, you know. It's way too precise. Like, I don't know, I feel like it could be a little bit more forgiving without breaking the killer, right, making him too strong. You know, it's similar to the Blight head. I don't know, maybe that's just the intention of the devs, is for him not to be that strong. You see, for example, a loop like this, like how to use his power here. You know, and they even put that barrel there if you can tell. Like, why put a barrel there? You know, it just makes it even harder to use the power. So in situations like this is kind of what annoys me to play him. He basically becomes a normal M1 killer with no power simply because of the layout of the map. You see, again here, there's like an object right in the middle of the way. I can't do this to power on him. It's just like, why, you know, there's so much inconsistency to his power, and I don't feel like it should be that way.
7 minutes.
But yeah, those are some of his shortcomings. But especially if you see other high-level Wesker players, you see they already kind of netted the skill down where they kind of do the dash without looking. I'll see if I can find an example here in the match, and I'll point it out to you guys. Obviously, I didn't mention so far, but you notice my build. I'm using a very heavy gem build. My thought process was, you see, like right here, that's kind of the perfect example. You see, I didn't quite look to the left before going for the second dash. That's what I mean. Like when you dash without looking, that gives you. If I were to stop, turn, and then, you know, look at what's happening before doing the dash, that gives her time enough to leave the loop, and thus the second dash will not hit. But at the same time, you see what happens there. If you're not like 110% perfect, he just hits some random object in the wall and ruins everything, and then you have to wait like 30 seconds to recover your 2 dashes again, you know. But I mean, it is just execution. Like, if you're a good player, you can get it down, especially if you're playing on a PC, which controlling the camera is going to be much easier than on console, like I'm doing here. But yeah, I've been practicing so I can get those blind dashes, I like to call them, those blind dashes down. Cause it just becomes annoying, because those type of things, we cannot use his power, or you mess up something with the power with the bumping logic. It just ruins everything, because he gets punished way too hard for missing his dash. I don't think it should punish him that hard for missing a dash. It's like, if you miss the dash, it's like guaranteed like another 30 seconds on the chase, basically. Because he's like an M1 killer with no power without the dash. You see here, I was trying to aim in case he would juke, but he didn't, so just kind of missed. Also, I'm not sure why they included this thing where he throws them, and it's possible that he won't injure them when he throws them. I feel like, you know, if he touches it, it should be an injury. Like, why is there this no injury factor? You see there again, that was a hit, but my aiming was slightly towards the wall, so he hit the wall instead. I think he should just slide in a situation like that, right? Why doesn't he just slide across the wall and get the hit anyway? Why does he have to hit the wall and stop? You know, I don't know, I feel like that's something they could change. They would just make playing the killer much more accessible, I would say, right? Now, granted, that's my mistake, right? That's totally something I could correct on my execution part, but I just don't, especially for the majority of players, I just don't feel like it's necessary to require that amount of execution, right? It's not like you're playing Nurse or something. He's just like a normal killer with the M1 power, you know? He doesn't need that much hard execution to get his reward, I would think. I think that's something to be reserved for the kind of broken killers, where they're very, very hard to play, but the execution, the reward pays off for the hard execution. And you see, I'm playing. I have to play defense on the gens, right? Because otherwise they're gonna get done. I use my build to the max. This is also these types of mistakes that you see right here. That's because I am playing at a max sensitivity. So it's not that I get scared, but doing those small adjustments when he's very near me is very hard at the high sensitivity. Because if you do a small touch, it goes way too far, right? Because the sensitivity is so high. That was a miss too. I was kind of surprised I missed. But it becomes kind of hard to aim like those very slight corrections because the sensitivity is so high. So that's why you see me missing here for the most part. I could just kind of drop the sensitivity, but but there's advantages to playing that high, right? So I try to, rather than lowering the sensitivity, just try to adjust, you know, get used to it, adjust my execution level to it. But yeah, normally, like, I don't think any, you know, normal average Wesker player would have missed those hits playing at a normal sensitivity. But yeah, this build with the Gen 2, it's like really impressive if you play it right. Basically, let me try to break it down in not many words what I'm doing here. Basically, I'm kicking the Gen so it will regress. Let's say I just kicked the Gen right there, so that's gonna buy me, let's say, 30 seconds, right? So with those 30 seconds that I just gained back, I'm wasting chasing someone else, right? But then I have to go back to gain those 30 seconds back again, because someone is gonna be working on the Gen to recover those 30 seconds that I just took off them. And I'm kind of doing this, balancing between the gens, if you can tell. The fact that they have medkits and they can heal pretty much instantly doesn't help with the strategy, but I just have to kind of keep pushing. I have the infection on them as well, so that's helping me. The infection of Ouroboros, I mean, because that gives them another thing to do besides the gens. They have to get rid of that, or they're gonna be an insta down. They're gonna be slowed down, you know, at the very least. You see, you can use your power here. Good example right there. These long tiles, his power shines on long walls, okay? And you see the very long walls on this loop. Anything that's kind of long like that, his power can be used for the most part. But anything that's short, like behind me right now in the video, like I saw earlier, it's kind of very short turns, he just can't do anything about it. Because it's mostly also because his movement speed when he has the power charge is very slow. Or the movement speed between the first dash and the second dash is very slow as well. There are add-ons to influence that, and that's why they're probably the best add-ons for him. Because they can influence that and thus make your power more useful in more situations. You see, right here, it's possible I could have used this power, right? Because I could have dashed forward and then walk a little bit with the power active. You see, kind of right here, I tried the blind dash, like I mentioned, but the execution was poor, so... But that could be a hit if I aimed properly to the left, you know. But that's really hard to execute. I would imagine, especially at the sensitivity that I'm playing, although it has to be kind of the sensitivity that I'm playing, because if you're too slow as well to turn the camera, then again they gain too much distance and you're not gonna, you know, be there in time with the second dash. But these kind of blind dashes, as I like to call them, is the best way you can play him when doing these type of short, very fast turns there with the power. You see Eruption Valley there too. The other part of the strategy that I didn't mention about going back and forth with the gens, 30 seconds gain and whatnot, that I mentioned earlier, is the fact that I have Eruption. So by kicking all the gens, you can see what you just saw right there. I can commit to the chase, knowing that when I down that person, the gens are going to be stopped. Because without Eruption right there, I can guarantee you those gens would get done by the time I hook her. So that's the Eruption factor right there that makes all the difference in this sort of strategy that I'm pulling off right here. But yeah, I think, yeah, since I'm playing this match without add-ons too, I'm purposely playing without add-ons so I can kind of get the best grip of his power without the add-ons before I transition to using the add-ons, right? Which would allow me for more possibilities with the add-ons. I just want to like make sure I can be as good with the add-ons as without the add-ons, if you know what I mean. Which is, you know, in theory not possible, but either way. And you see, they also, I kind of mentioned this, but the part of the strategy that I'm doing here is making sure they're getting affected over and over again, because eventually the canisters are going to run out, and they just won't be able to keep this up without having the full infection, like you see the Rebecca there. Especially if they're greedy enough to commit to the gen without cleansing the infection, like she did right here, which give me basically a one-shot down. It's very important to, like, you see I didn't kick the gen, but it's very important like that I kick the gen before going for the chase. Because otherwise, like for example, if I didn't kick this gen, Rebecca would just come back and finish it. So I have to kick the gen before committing to the chase. That's very important, so I can get the value of the perks as well. You see right there, that was a somewhat of a blind dash type of hit, but you see he can turn to the right there like he did, and the blind dash would have missed. So I kind of waited, and he did the short turn, but when falling, he's free for the attack. You see, I can commit to the chase here, knowing that I have eruption on that gen, and it's gonna regress it. Otherwise, that Rebecca would finish the gen. So the perk is really this setup is really fundamental. You don't need overcharge. Overcharge is really I'm intentionally going for the overkill factor on the regression, but you can tell like overcharge is making a big difference on helping with that regression speed. Otherwise, especially when they're co-oping the gens, like you saw earlier, the gens would have finished for sure. No Way Out just helps me, find them stealthing. Otherwise, I would have get screwed by that as too. You see, that does a blind dash right there. You just saw I didn't do it. I kind of hesitated, but I could have used the dash right there as well. He's pretty much dead here, I think. I don't think he can make it to that one in time. Yep. Also, there's another thing. When you hook them, their infection regresses to 50%. Okay, of the 100. It's kind of annoying, but it's fair. Because if they didn't regress to 50, he could have just done you off the hook. With the hindered speed, it would be way too much, right? But you can see he was red, and now he became white there because he loses. If he's at 100, he loses 50% when he gets hooked. So yeah, that's the thing to keep in mind as well. And you see another point here. I'm just trying to point out the gameplay, everything going in my head. There's way more than going in my head than I can comment here in a short time. That's why I say I leave that to my courses and coaching, because there's way much more going on. If I were to explain everything, I would have to go in depth, and I would have to pause the video, and I don't want to do this here because the video would be too long. It's already too long. But basically, the fact that he's infected and not doing anything about it kind of tells me that he was on a gen. Okay, I can kind of make an educated guess based on that, because why would he not do that if he wasn't on a gen, right? Why would he risk what he just did there if he wasn't doing it on a gen? So I can kind of make an educated guess based on that and know his position based on that. And I knew he was on that gen because I was near the other ones, and obviously he wasn't there. And you see, he completely gained back control of the game, and I would say overcharge did make a difference in this build. My idea with this build was really more like not really get the downs, just get the infection and then go back to the gens. I'm doing this with the 3 gen here, but the idea was to do it since the beginning of the match, okay? Even with 5 gens, which just be infecting them over and over, and keep regressing the gens as much as I can to essentially buy time while they're wasting all the canisters. And then gets to a point like when we get to these last 3 gens, they don't have any more canisters, so everyone is like a one-shot down. Is fun basically. So that's with the idea, but it didn't quite work because I was kind of missing some dashes. The loops were a bit too strong. I cannot use my power on them. Those was kind of the factors that forced the strategy to work only on the last 3 gens. You see, nowhere to hide. Great break, man. I hope people are saying it's too strong. The fact the aura follows you, I don't think it's too strong. Like, I think it should follow you because 24 meters is not that big of a range, considering how big your terror radius is. Because some survivors, as soon as they hear the beginning of the terror radius, they already run out of the gen into stealth. So 24 meters will not cover. They can cover more than 24 meters in this time frame, right? So I would say if they want to take off the fact that the aura follows you after kicking the gen, I would say the devs would need to increase the range from 24 to maybe 32 meters or maybe 40 meters. Make the range bigger so that the aura doesn't have to follow you. I think that would be fair. It would kind of balance it out for the M1 killers, because a nurse, for example, you can kick the gen and then blink, and as the aura follows you, you're getting way more coverage than like 32 meters. You know what I mean? Which I agree, it can be a little, not very fair and balanced. But if you just take off the aura reading, like you see, again, that was a blind dash. That was a miss on the execution, as you see right there. But you can tell the power was definitely usable on that situation. So I don't know if you can get these executions right that I'm getting wrong here. Wesker is actually pretty damn good. I'm just struggling a bit myself because I'm playing on console, max sensitivity. Yeah, no, not very easy on the execution side, but I'm getting better, so I think eventually I would be more consistent with this. But either way it works because I played the strategy right? That's something as well. Strategy always trumps skill, like killer skill. Obviously you need both, you want both. But if you have the strategy perfect, usually you can still make mistakes and win the game. Alright guys? So yeah, that's the video. That's my thoughts on massacres, a lot of things I commented on. And hopefully I'll bring more games to you guys soon, alright? Where I'm getting these dashes right. Take care.